When I got to the hotel, John had purchased the entire spring wardrobe of Brooks Brothers, put it in my hotel room for me, $7,000 worth of clothing. He outlines the story in chapter 1 of his book, Giftology. He really didn't spend a penny, but it was the time and the energy and thoughtfulness of doing something for someone else that made me completely kind of indebted for him, and the reciprocity of wanting to help him. We're trying to think of John as a gift to all of us because he really did teach us a lot about ourselves and our businesses and our communities and our friends and what really matter. I think the legacy that we leave is the feelings that we leave people with, the butterfly effects that we can create. And if we love bomb on the people around us, like John Ruhlin talked about, that becomes some of our legacy. We feel good when we give without an ask. Walking down a street and we see someone who's homeless and we decide to give them some food or we decide to give them some money. It doesn't matter what they do with it. It feels good.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou. And boy, do we have a very special episode with a very special guest lined up for you today. Today's guest is actually a repeat guest. He's become a dear friend of mine. And we decided to do this episode to pay tribute to a past guest on this show, a great man who unfortunately and suddenly passed away, the legendary John Ruhlin, the founder of the Giftology movement. John was a great man. I had a fantastic conversation with him when he was on the show. And today's guest is one of his dearest and best friends, the one and only Cameron Herold. Welcome, Cameron.
Hey, Nikki. Great to see you again. Welcome. And it's nice to chat with another Canadian.
Always is. So today's episode is going to be a little different from the way we do most episodes. Mm-hmm. Why don't you start by telling me how you got to meet John, how you got to know John, and what brought the two of you together in your personal and professional lives?
So I've always believed in the power of community, and you know that saying that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I've always invested a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money in being in different mastermind communities. And one of the very first ones that I was involved in was called the Entrepreneurs Organization, or now it's known as EO. And I was at the 20th anniversary of EO in Las Vegas in 2007. And I was one of the speakers at the conference. I actually did 3 speaking events to about 1,400 people over that period. And John came up to me after one of the speaking events and he said he was blown away by the content, wanted to get to know me. And then he heard that I was actually coming to Cleveland, where he lived, to speak to his EO chapter. And he said, hey, when you come to the chapter, do you want to get together and grab dinner? And I said, sure. So this kind of, I'll make the story short, but on the way to Cleveland, I realized my flight was going to be late. John said, hey, not a big deal. Can I get your shirt size? I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want one of your company shirts with your logo on it. But I didn't say that. I just gave him my shirt size. And I said I was kind of frustrated that I was not going to be able to go to Brooks Brothers before going to the dinner, because at that time, 2007, the Canadian dollar was worth more than the US, and everything at Brooks Brothers was kind of free for me. Those are back in the days when I shopped at Brooks Brothers. Anyway, long story short, when I got to the hotel, John had purchased the entire spring wardrobe of Brooks Brothers, put it in my hotel room for me, $7,000 worth of clothing. He outlines the story in chapter 1 of his book, Giftology. But it so blew me away that he decided to go shopping for me on his credit card and made arrangements with the head of the Four Seasons Hotel to take back all the clothes I didn't want, and anything I did want ended up on my credit card. So he really didn't spend a penny, but it was the time and the energy and thoughtfulness of doing something for someone else that made me completely kind of indebted for him, and the reciprocity of wanting to help him. I then started introducing him to get him on a bunch of stages, introduced him to communities like MMT and Gathering of Titans, and he then started introducing me to groups like $1 Million Roundtable, and we just became really, really close friends and advocates for each other. And yeah, began a lifelong friendship, 17 years. Sadly, as you mentioned, he passed away 3 weeks ago at 44 years old, healthy, leaving a wife and 4 girls that were between 4 and 13 years old. And he just stopped. He passed out and they couldn't resuscitate. So yeah, we lost a good friend. And as all of his friends are saying now, we're trying to think of John as a gift to all of us, because he really did teach us a lot about ourselves and our businesses and our communities and our friends and what really matter. So we're trying to spread the ideas that he shared in his book, Giftology, with others, and also to really stay kind of focused on what matters in life, because what we do to make money is just what we do to make money. It's not our reason for being.
No. I had 2 conversations with John, one on the podcast and one getting to know him before the podcast. And you said that when you met him, you were struck by this incredibly generous thing he did, knowing that you were missing the clothes that you wanted to wear at this dinner. He went to Brooks Brothers and he got the entire spring wardrobe. He made it available for you. He thought about that. He went out of his way to put a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of thought into making someone else's life better. Mm-hmm. And I think we make a living by what we do and the value we offer to people, but we make a life by the people whose lives we touch. And John Ruhlin touched your life in a very profound and powerful way. Please continue with that.
Yeah, you know that when he would often, like quite often, call in the middle of the day at random over video. In fact, he and I spoke 5 days before he passed away for 45 minutes over FaceTime. Wow. And John would often call up and he'd start by saying, "Am I interrupting anything?" And it'd be like, no, you're good. And we would chat about the whatever, and it was always just catching up, hanging out, chatting. There was sometimes a little bit of an embedded, can you refer, or who do you know, or whatever, but it wasn't ever really super direct. But he almost finished every single call with, who in your network can we love on right now? Which of your customers can we love bomb right now? Which of your employees can we love on, right? It was always love on. And what he meant by that was, who can we send a gift to that matters to them? And the gifts that he would suggest sending would never have your company logo on them. Yeah. So as an example, I'm sending today, I just finalized through John's company, Giftology. They manage all the gifting. They handwrite all the cards that go out. They take care of all the shipping and the engraving. I'm sending a very high-end chef knife to my assistant who's been with me for 8 years. And it says, thanks for always carving out some time for me and, digging in deeper into the business and cutting through all the crap to help us build the COO Alliance. It's kind of cute, like in the messaging, but it's got her name on the knife, and it just says Culinary Creations from Meredith Kuba's Kitchen. It doesn't mention the COO Alliance. It doesn't mention my name. The gift is about her. It's for her. It's something that will end up in her kitchen, and every time she uses that knife, she'll remember me and think of me. But that was one of the very first gifts John gave me, was this chef's knife. And I still use it to this very day. I've got multiple gifts from him over the years, but it's that idea that you're going to send something to someone that matters to them for the sake of thanking them. I don't know where I'm really going with that, other than he's always thinking about saying thank you.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, what you just said, who in your network can we love on right now? That's such a great question. When you asked that, I was thinking, well, who can I love on right now? As soon as you asked that, that's the first place my head went into. Who can I love on right now?
Well, and here's some examples, right? If you're a business owner, or let's say you're even a business leader, like a VP or a C-level title, who are a couple of your customers you can reach out to and say thank you with no ask? What customers can you love on? I had a customer that just rejoined the COO Alliance for his 4th year. So, the lifetime value of this member is, $30,000 or $40,000. I'm going to get a custom made through John's company, a custom made mug, a coffee mug with all of the things around this person's life. It's about a $600 mug, but they literally create it from scratch, and it's carved and etched and created with his core values, things about his family, pictures about what matters. So we'll have to interview his wife and his kids, some of his coworkers, and they'll pull all these ideas together in this beautiful custom-made mug, and it comes in this beautiful box. And it's, again, this $600 gift, but when the lifetime value of this customer is $40,000, why would I not spend, a tiny little bit of money as a thank you for that? That's like 1.5% of the lifetime value that I'm going to spend as a thank you. So those kinds of gifts for customers. But then what about partners? Like, what about your suppliers? When was the last time you sent a thank you gift to a marketing supplier, or your lawyer, or your accountant, or, an advisor? When was the last time you sent a thank you gift to your business coach? Or someone who leads a mastermind community that you're in. I remember Roland Fraser led a mastermind community that I was in, and I sent him a big thank you. Roland loves wine, so I sent him this massive magnum of wine. Roland doesn't want my company t-shirt or a company hat, but a thank you to him that matters. But it also brings up a couple others right now in my life that I've got to send a gift to say thank you to them, because they made, meaningful impacts to me. So you got customers, you got suppliers. When was the last time you sent a meaningful gift to, even a neighbor, to just say, hey, thanks for being the one in the neighborhood that keeps an eye open for everybody? Or, anyway, it's the thought that giving, and the more that we give, it creates this karmic energy. It makes us feel good.
It's so true. As you were saying that, I started to write down names, like you were saying, customers, friends. So I wrote down some names of people. So my coach has become more than a coach to me. We actually do business together. My latest book, I co-wrote it with him. It officially came out yesterday. We're doing some sort of Facebook Live. I just was thinking about what this man has meant to me, what he's made possible for me in my life. Like, I made a lot more money and all that, but he's made me a better man. You know what I mean? He's really helped me become the best version of Nicky Billou, rather than the crappy jerk-off version of Nicky Billou that can sometimes show up in the world. And
what could be an incredible gift for your coach, Nicky? Would be for you to reach out to John's Giftology group and get a custom mug made for him.
That's what I was
with
saying.
All of the mantras and all of the sayings that he's taught you over the year, like his kind of core things.
Markisms. His name's Mark. We call him Markisms.
So you're going to have Markisms on the mug. Like, when you create a custom mug of the Markisms in the color that he wants, because it'll be painted in the color that he likes too, dude, he will cry. It will be meaningful. And the value, like, think about what you've paid him to coach you. $600 is a rounding error on top of that.
It is.
But then the reciprocity, it's Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book Influence and wrote the second one, Presage, and talks about the reciprocity that happens when you do something for other without an ask. When you do something for a coach, they're not expecting it. No coaches get gifts from their clients.
No, they don't.
I've been coaching CEOs I've got a couple, actually. I shouldn't say that. I got one from Bobby Harris, who sent me a $400 bottle of wine, and it was a Cameron's winery. It was from Cameron's, because my name's Cameron. I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't know there was a winery called Cameron. Yeah. And this was back in the day when I drank. But that was a really cool, meaningful gift that I remember. And he signed it. He signed the label. I think if you think about people and gift with no ask, the indebtedness and the reciprocity and the caring that comes back from that is really powerful. And at the end of the day, none of this shit matters anyway. We're just doing this to make money. We're all going to end up as meat on a stick. We're going to end up as kebabs. Like, why not just love bomb people? Because I think the legacy that we leave is the feelings that we leave people with, the butterfly effects that we can create. And if we love bomb on the people around us, like John Ruhlin talked about, that becomes some of our legacy.
Honestly, it's true. I'm going to do this for Mark. He doesn't listen to every episode, so hopefully he's not going to hear this one and go, okay, I knew you were going to do this for me. But
even if he does, he won't believe what shows up in this box that he opens up when he sees it. Because I knew about the mugs. And when I got my mug, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting the mug. And I opened it, I was like, wow. This thing is like, it was a wow.
Yeah. It will be a wow.
Like it's a wood box with like a velvet interior. It's not like a box that you throw. It's like a crafted, polished, latched box that you keep as. It's kind of cool.
Keepsake. It's a keepsake.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't know if I told you this, but in February of last year, I went on a journey to get back into shape because I'd let myself get out of shape over a 12-year period. So I dropped 60 pounds. I did a bodybuilding competition against guys 20 years younger than me. I came in third. It was pretty awesome.
I saw photos. You look photoshopped. It was so good, man.
So the guy who got me there is getting a mug. He's getting a mug.
How old are you? 56, 57?
57, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you look like you look like a leaner version of Ben Greenfield. You were shredded.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, Ben Greenfield, he's a good dude. I've been trying to get him on my show, actually. I've been reaching out to him to get him going.
I'll easily make that happen. Ben Greenfield and I have been in a mastermind community for 5 years. His COO is a member of the CO Alliance. Okay, Ben Greenfield knows John Ruhlin well. I can make that happen. Just send me an email. Happy to introduce you to Ben Greenfield.
Ben Greenfield.
I can also get Tim Gray, who runs the Health Optimization Summit, on your podcast. He'd be a really good guest.
Oh, man, I'm in. So the guy who got me in shape, his name is Amr the Hammer Camera. He runs a company called Hammer Fitness. He's 36 years old. He used to be a IFBB pro bodybuilder. From 17 to 25, he competed. He won a bunch of championships. And then he decided he didn't want to compete anymore, and he started an online fitness company. So his story is pretty amazing because right now he has 15 people working under him, and he has over 900 online clients. They also have a gym in Toronto where you can go, so you pay $500 a month to be an online client, right? And so you can go to train at the gym. The gym's like a 20-minute drive from my house. My eldest son went to St. Michael's College School here in Toronto. He's a soccer player, a great kid. So
my dad went to St. Mike's. Bathurst and St. Clair. Bathurst and St. Clair, I know well.
Both my sons, one of them still goes there. The other one just graduated. So my son, his name's Kayvon, great kid. So I said to him, why don't you do some workouts with Amr? Because he's into working out. He goes, okay. So he loved it. Amr said, your son's smart. Your son's good. And then in the summer, he goes, I think I'd like to give your son a job for the summer. How'd you feel about it? I go, are you kidding me? That's amazing. That'd be fantastic. So Kayvon starts working there to learn the ropes of training. And he's there. He gets up at 4:35 every day, 7 days a week. He's in the gym by 6. He's either learning by being with the trainers and watching how to train. Plus, when I do personal training, I told Amber, listen, you coach me, but let Kayvon train me. This way he'll, learn. And plus I get to spend 2 hours a week with my son, like 2 training sessions a week that I otherwise wouldn't see him. He said, yeah, that's a great idea. So he comes to me at the beginning of August. He said, Dad, how would you feel if I didn't go to university this year and I just worked? I have thought about this. I'm learning more about kinesiology, which is what he was going to study at Western, than I would in school. If I go to school, all that I'm going to have is a lot of partying. I won't be as focused. I want to work. I want to learn. I want to make money. So I said, let me talk to Amr. Amr goes to me. He said, look, obviously I don't want to overstep, but I think if your son stayed and worked with me, he could do really well. He could be one of my best guys. His top trainers make $40,000 a month, bro. $40,000 a month. It's nuts. Yeah. Nuts. So I go to Kayvon. I go, listen, here's the deal. You can take a year off, but I'm buying Peterson Academy. So I bought Peterson Academy. I got a membership to that. I'm doing it for myself, but I said, you got to study this. And then you also have to come with me. We're going to invest some of your money. You're not going to be one of these kids who's going to spend and blow all his cash once he makes cash. You have your first $10,000 month. I don't want you to go spend $10,000 on shit. I want at least half of it to go into an investment account. He goes, okay, Dad, I'll do that. And I go to Amr. I said, look, this is what I want him to do. Are you on board? He goes, yeah, I'm on board. So Amr's helping this kid who's 18 go from being a boy to being a man. People are meeting him and they don't, he looks young, but the way he carries himself is older. So I'm so happy for what Amr's not done just for me, but what he's doing for my son. So I want to get him a killer mug. Mark and Amber get mugs right away. So that we're going to go to the Ruhlin company and get that done.
Love that. By the way, I am a huge fan of kids dropping out of university and going to apprentice and learn from some of the best places. Universities are a very 1980s, 1990s thing.
Yep.
See, you and I kind of grew up in an era where we believed that universities is where we had to go to get educated. But kids who are smart and kids who are driven can learn more in an hour on YouTube or Google or ChatGPT than they can sitting in these stupid classrooms. They would be better off going and working with these great companies and learning. My son just came back from an apprenticeship over in the UK. He found a company over in the UK. He's been running his own business. He just turned 21. He's going off to do an internship in Singapore. He's literally trying to find cool companies globally to go and learn from. And I love the whole, like, go and invest your money. The rule of thumb I have for my kids, when they live at home under mom or dad's roof, 50% of every check that they earn somewhere, 50% of the money that they earn from running their own business must be invested in some of the core technology stocks like the Googles and the Apples and the Microsofts. My son, who's 23, got me into NVIDIA 4 years ago. He was 19. He's the one that told me to. He and I have been buying NVIDIA stock every 2 to 3 months for 4 years. And they also have to put some money in Bitcoin. When they move out of the house, they have to put 20% of every paycheck and 20% of all the money they earn into their investments. And I'm trying to get them, and I've been doing it now since they were 16. So they're at the mindset now as these 23 and 21-year-olds that they like saving, they like investing, they're watching their money compound, they understand compound growth. And I'm doing it to build the habits at a young age. Yes. Because when you're 35, if you've been spending all the money you've been earning, it's really, really hard to become an investor. But it's very easy if you kind of catch that addiction early.
That's brilliant. And thank you for that. The 50 and the 20, that's good. I'm gonna bring that to my boy as well. I mean, he's living at home for now. He's staying with mom. Mom's house is 8 minutes from work. So he used to stay with me all the time. Now he stays with her because it's an 8-minute drive to work. But man, I'm happy with Amber. Amber has made me a better man, made me a better person. I got more energy. I look good. I feel good. I'm not embarrassed standing next to my beautiful woman who's like stunningly spectacular, and I was some fat dude not looking as good as she did anymore. So Amber gets a mug. I'm thinking we find out a way to get a really good mug going for him. So I'll call Ruhlin's company, and in honor of both John and these guys, I'll do that. I think it's a really, really smart idea. And I love that you have thought about how to make your children good citizens out in the world, that you have told them, listen, you're going to get good habits for investing, for saving early in life. That's going to set them up to win later on in life. And they're going to need that in a big way over the coming decades.
I think so. And I think, at the end of the day, again, it's all about none of this stuff matters, right? What matters is being a good human and taking care of each other. And so just trying to build some of those habits that maybe we didn't get exposed to.
No, honestly, it's so true. One of the things that, with what happened to John being so young and just passing away, it's one of the things that's made me think, Cameron, I think health is our most important wealth. It's the most important thing any of us have. And spending time, energy to make sure that our health is optimized is the smartest thing we can do. Exercise, eat well, love people, be around people you love on people like John did. All that's going to increase your level of health because the body likes it when you do things that give it life, give it joy. And that's one of the things that I learned from John Ruhlin the short time I got to spend with him. Gift giving is a way to express life and joy. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are around that, especially since you knew him so well.
Well, one of the things that I realized is that we feel good when we give without an ask. Whether we're walking down a street and we see someone who's homeless and we decide to give them some food or we decide to give them some money, it doesn't matter what they do with it. It feels good. I remember when my 7-year-old, we were walking in Vancouver and we were walking in the neighborhood and he saw a homeless person, and he stopped and he handed the homeless person a $2 coin, a toonie in Canada. And I was like, wow, this is my 7-year-old kid giving a homeless guy $2. That's a really big thing. And we walked about a block, and then my son stopped me and he said, wait a second. And he went running back to the homeless person, talked to him for a minute or so, and then he came back to me, and I said, what did you go back for? And he said, I realized I had a $5 bill in my pocket, and the $5 bill would mean more to the homeless person than it means to me.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, wow, like the legacy project is working, right? Like when someone cares about another human with no ask, what happens is you feel good, and that good feeling comes back in and it helps you make better decisions. The good feeling makes you make better eating habits. That good feeling vibrates in a different way, so you attract more good energy to you. So it's almost like, I think John's whole thing around gifting and love bombing people made him this happy, charismatic charge, and that happy, charismatic charge brought more of that back to him. And I think if you do it in the wrong way, it's like, oh, how can I send someone a gift so that they buy from me? That's the wrong energy. It's the wrong, it's going to bring you the wrong result.
You know, this just gave me an idea, and this may be a bit of a crazy idea, but perhaps, how would you feel about helping the Ruhlin Company put out a successor book for John that's just stories from people that worked with him about what they learned from him?
We're already working on it.
I'd like to contribute a story to it.
Yeah, we're doing one right now. We'd love to get a story from you if you want to send it over. I'm on the actual I'm on the board for that book that's being written. I was asked to write the foreword for it, and we're in the process of pulling together everything for it right now.
I'll send you a story. I'll make sure I do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Synchronicity. I didn't know you guys were doing that. The thought came to me while you were sharing this, so that's pretty wild.
You know, it's the only time that I've ever known anyone who's passed away where the reciprocity of his friends were like a magnetic force, and we've broken up into 3 groups. One group that is going to help the business Giftology continue and scale. John thankfully had a business partner for the entire 17 years. John was the very front stage. He was like the Phantom of the Opera, and backstage, Rod was running the business. So thankfully they have Rod's still running things. They don't have the rainmaker face of the company like they did, but we're crafting a way that John can live on, the Giftology message will live on, and that we can really scale the organization. He's got a big group of people pulling together. We've created an advisory board for that. We've got a strategic plan being put in place and a bunch of initiatives that we're working on right now, the book being one. The second group of people is working to help Lindsay, his wife, and his 4 daughters that are between 4 and 13 to make sure that they're taken care of financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So we've got a group working just with them. And then a third group that is going to kickstart in about 6 months is around legacy. And what are the things that we can do to have John live on, to have his ideas live on, to create some kind of a legacy. And there'll be a group there. We're just kind of waiting for the dust to settle before we start on the legacy project. We need to make sure the business and family are taken care of first.
Well, how can I help? What do you need right now that would be most impactful in those arenas?
Well, there's a GoFundMe that we can send you, and then just asking everyone who is listening or any of your fans to go and buy 10 copies of the book Giftology. And I would say read 1, give 9 away, and when you're finished reading the one you're reading, give that one away. And I think that will just create a huge butterfly effect for the movement and the ideas and the girls.
Well, send me a link for the 10 books. I'm in for that right away. No problem. I'll ask everybody else to do that as well. I have a small mastermind of thought leaders that I run. If you know somebody from the organization who'd be willing to come and do a short talk, I can organize for time to be given for that.
There's two people in the organization, Mike Monroe and Rod, his co-founder, are both willing to do speaking over Zoom or in person. So yeah, if you send me an email on that, I can happily introduce you, Nikki.
All right. No problem. We'll make that happen.
It'd be a great book club for your mastermind too, is to have everyone in your mastermind read the book Giftology and then do a kind of a group discussion. I like doing the discussion like a book report. You know, in high school or in grade school, you had to read a book and do a book report. Have everyone in your mastermind read the book Giftology, which is what I'm doing with my COO Alliance. And then they're all going to come in and say, what did they like about the book? But what are they going to put in place from the book? Like, what are they going to put in place to, help scale it?
Done. Those are easy. Those are easy. If there's anything you need that's more substantial than that, we'll do that. I'll have you speak to these guys. Do you know my friend Raymond Aaron?
No.
So Raymond Aaron has been called Canada's success coach. He's been in the business since the mid 80s. He was also the author with Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen of Chicken Soup for the Canadian Soul. He's been a New York Times best-selling author, and has success coaching programs of various stripes with students all over the world. Spectacular guy, done some really cool things in his life, and he's got a pretty darn big platform. I should connect you with Raymond and see if I can get you on his podcast. Tell him about the connection with John. Raymond is the kind of man who would be, even if he'd never met John, I think he'd be interested in contributing, helping in some fashion.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And again, I think the idea of like love bombing on people and the strategic gifting and gifting without there's the, love bombing and gifting without an ask. And then there's the strategic gifting, right? You can use gifts as a way to open the door. We often think, I'll take a client out for a really nice steak dinner. They don't remember that steak dinner a week later. But if you're going to spend $300 on a steak dinner, why don't you spend $300 on a gift? And then, I had a name that send me a gift bag of a bunch of stuff a couple weeks ago because I'm in part of their mastermind community. And the gift bag came and, there was a coffee cup and a mug and a hat and a shirt and a book. And I threw it all out. I'm a nomad, so I don't have space for a bunch of stuff. But I didn't want to have this person's, I didn't need a shirt with his brand and a hat with his brand and a coffee cup with his brand. Like, that was all about him. That wasn't about me. And what John would have said was, take the value of what that package was and give me something for me. Maybe it's just a golf shirt with my initials on it, just a CH. Go get me a Lululemon sweatshirt that everybody knows I wear Lulu because I'm on the road, and get a Lululemon sweatshirt with engraved CH on it, or don't even engrave it. Just send me a new Lululemon sweatshirt and go, hey, we were thinking of you. That, when you care about the other person and you think about the other person, the reciprocity that comes off of that means they're going to think about you. So yes, I could talk on podcasts about gifting, strategic gifting, love bombing people forever.
Yeah, I think it's good. And Raymond is the founding member of the Transformational Leadership Circle that Jack Canfield originally created, which has 160 of the world's most iconic and best-known thought leaders on it. So Raymond's a good guy for you to know. I'm going to make that connection for the podcast, and I'll do it beyond that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And let's. So Transformational Leadership Circle has some really cool people in there, and they love to learn. They love to learn from top-level people. If you can think about how yourself, someone from the organization can come and bring the giftology message in a very compelling way, they could be interested. They meet twice a year with a whole bunch of them going to these really high-end resorts. You could go in there and do a presentation. There's no selling, but you can talk about the ideas that you have. And those guys always love to buy and get into things and so on and so forth. So, brother, John Ruhlin was a man who gave a good gosh darn about his fellow man. And that's what makes his life a gift to all of us. And you're somebody who, in the time that I've known you and I've spoken with you, you've always been somebody who gives a good gosh darn about your fellow man. You're somebody who comes up with ideas in a very coherent and thoughtful way. You understand how to develop your own intellectual property and create thought leadership that's valuable for other people. And as much as you're a businessman and you have to think about how you're going to grow your business and what's in it for you and those that you love, I think the core of who you are as a human being and the core of how you run your business is you want to make a difference for your fellow man. I see that. It radiates from every fiber of your being. It's an honor to know you. It's an honor to get the chance to speak with you, and honestly to let the best side of me come out when I get to interact with you. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that sincerely.
Yeah, you bet. So let's move toward landing the plane on this and wrapping up. And normally I'd ask you to give me your top 3 expert action steps, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to ask you to imagine you're speaking for John, and what would be the top 3 things that you believe he would want to convey to people at this stage?
I know that he was working on something over the last 12 months that I think he wished he would have worked on 12 years earlier. He was working to come off the road and not be speaking as much on stages so that he could spend more time with his wife and 4 girls, because he recognized that time with his girls and time with his wife was more important than anything else he'd be working on. And I think that there's a lot of us in the business world that get caught up in the business and the day-to-day without remembering that this is just what we do to make money. That what life is all about is the time with ourselves and with our spouse and with our kids and with our friends and with our family and in our community. And we should prioritize that. You know, I have a friend, Dan Martell, who you and I were speaking about before we went live. And Dan said, if you really care about something, if you tell me you really care about something, show me your calendar and show me your bank account, and we'll know for sure if you care about it. And the example of that would be, you know, you over the last bunch of years said you cared about fitness. Well, I can tell you, if we looked at your calendar, we'd know you cared about fitness because it was in your calendar. The gym workouts, tracking your macros. Like if I looked at your bank account, what you spent on with coaches and trainers and food, and, you know, it was clear you cared about that. Well, I think the real kind of thing that John would tell us as humans is, if you say you care about your family, make sure that they're in your calendar, make sure that you're spending your time and money on your family. And then the same about your customers and your suppliers is really put your money and your time where your mouth is.
Yep. Yeah, that's one.
And I know he was starting to work with that.
That's super important. That's super, super important.
I guess the second lesson would be to pick up the phone or pick up a video call and just reach out to people. Like he was so good at driving down the road and he'd be like, yeah, I'm thinking of Cameron. He'd stop the car and on their side of the road, he'd be like, hey, I was just thinking about you. I thought I'd call. We need to do that more because A, it matters more, and B, you don't want it to be wow, I just realized that they died and I didn't have that call with them.
Yeah.
And then the third, I guess, is to do it without an ask, right? To really love bomb people and care about people without any kind of ask of reciprocity. It'll come to you, but when you do it in the cheesy way, you know, hey, what can I do for you? It feels contrived. When you're thinking about the other person and trying to do stuff for them without an ask, that's when the reciprocity happens. And I think that it just feels good, right?
Amen. Amen. So let's review them because I think they're really good. If you really care about something, show me your calendar and your bank account, because that'll really tell if you actually care about it. And make sure that one of the things you care about is time and experiences with the people you love. It's paramount. Secondly, just pick up the phone or FaceTime video or whatever and reach out to people. Do it more because that's what really matters. And third, do it just to do it. Do it just to love bomb people. Do it without an ask. Brilliant stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
Brilliant stuff. So, Cameron, if someone wants to find out more about John and Giftology and that movement, that company, what's the best way?
Let me just quickly look up the URL so I know for sure I've got it correctly. I think it's giftologygroup.com. It is. It's Giftology. So GIFTOLOGY, giftologygroup.com.
Yep.
That's where they'll find John's information. His book, Giftology, is on Amazon and Audible and iTunes.
Yep. That's good. All right. We'll make sure that we put that in the show notes. And if someone wants to find out more about you, COO Alliance, what you do, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, easiest way is to go and look at CameronHerold.com. It's HEROLD. So CameronHerold.com. It has access to all my books, my Second in Command podcast, my leadership course. Everything's there. Very easy to kind of navigate and get any information on how I can help people or their companies scale.
So, listener, Giftology Group is a special company created by a special man. And if there's someone in your life right now that you want to show massive Mondo appreciation for, go to Giftology Group and ask them to help you come up with a great idea and let them execute it for you. Try them out for one gift. I'm going to do the mugs for Mark and Amber. Like that's a done deal. I think that's going to be wow level gifts for these two individuals. And make sure that you do that for one person. I think you'll be really glad that you did. And so Cameron Herold is a good man. He's smart as hell. And what he does helps companies grow, helps entrepreneurs make their visions come alive more powerfully. If you haven't heard of him before, he was the second in command at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. He helped that organization go from startup to hundreds of millions of dollars in sales before he went on to do other things. This guy's the real deal. At the very least, go to his website, grab a book, read it, listen to his podcast, get to know him a little bit. And once you've done that, because I know these days, here are the stats, Cameron. I don't know if you've heard this, but prior to 2021, the average person looking for a mastermind would spend as little as 15 minutes doing their due diligence. Now they're doing 3 hours and 14 minutes. 3 hours and 14 minutes checking you out before they decide they're going to pull the trigger. So if no one's ever heard of you, let's make it easy for them to do their 3 hours and 14 minutes with you, right? Listen to some podcasts, read some books. If they already know you, then just jump on a call. But go do that, get to know this man, and he's a good dude. He's a good man. There's a lot of people out there who got programs, and they're awesome, okay? But how many of them are good human beings at the same time? Like people that you go, this guy's got my back. He's thinking about me ahead of himself. You know, that's not everybody, but that is Cameron Herold. So on that basis, on that note, if you're an entrepreneur and you've got a chief operating officer, or if you're a chief operating officer and you're looking to figure out how you can grow yourself so you become a better asset to your business and you help it grow, Cameron Herold, COO Alliance, is worthy of your attention and of your 3 hours and 14 minutes of due diligence. All right? Okay, Cameron.
Thanks, Nicky. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. Cameron, buddy, thanks for coming on the show. Different type of podcast episode, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's interesting. It's probably the first time I've done a podcast interview, never talking about my expertise and stuff, but it was fun to share and give some value. And by the way, like the stuff that we talk about will actually pay big results, especially on the karmic side of your life.
100%. I guarantee you're going to get something as a result of you doing this today. I guarantee it. Done deal. It's guaranteed. Take it to the karmic bank. And listener, that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about John Ruhlin and Giftology, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or go to giftologygroup.com. And to find out more about Cameron Herold and COO Alliance, again, go to the notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or go to CameronHerold.com. Until next time, bye-bye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.